this is an airplane, and this is like its maiden voyage. It's in the simpler realm as far as model airplanes are concerned. It's got two controls, up and down on the horizontal stabilizer, and right and left on the rudder. Those are controlled by these two little motors inside the airplane. This is the power pack, and this is the decoder or receiver. And up front we have the power source. This one happens to be electric, and that's kind of new to the field of model aircraft. Not so much in years, but getting the power and things out of electric has been kind of a trial. So it's kind of an experiment all by itself. Right now I'm replacing the power fuse. Power source. Heavy. These things are heavy. That's one of the biggest problems with electric powered flight today. Okay, lumpy wind. We've got probably a 15-mile-an-hour wind, and you can feel it. Once you get up in the air, it becomes more pronounced, and then it slows down normally right towards the ground. So when we get this up, it's going to be hitting bubbles of air, different chunks, and it'll probably look like it's hitting something in the air. It's just the bubbles from the wind. This pattern on the airplane is checkerboard shelf paper. All visible to you on the other side of the camera. With the electric airplanes, we can get away with less expensive covering and construction techniques because there's not a lot of fuel. And fuel in most of the gas-powered models that you'll see seeps into the wood, breaks down the glue joints, and just pretty much makes it fall apart. So fuel proofing is a major factor in the gas-powered airplanes. I think we're about ready. This is the transmitter. I'll be flying this almost like there was a stick inside the cockpit. If I push the stick right, the airplane rotates right. If I pull it back, the nose comes up. It's almost like there was an airplane right on the end of the stick. Okay. One hand to take off with. I've trimmed a little bit up into the airplane so you may see it zooming. I'll try to correct that as soon as I get my hands over the hands. Anyway, this whole process looks something like this.
Yes.
I'll just walk out there and get it.
Good.
Now, this doesn't make any difference. Turn the radio off. It's light. It's got just enough power to get it way up there. And then when the motor starts running down for a little bit, it'll run just strong enough to hold it in the air. So I think it runs pretty good flights.
Good.
I'm real pleased. The wing loading is, I built another one of these previously, and the wing loading seems to be lower than the last one. It climbs out easier, and right now we're sitting in about 80 degrees, and so the air starts getting thinner the warmer that it gets. And it seems to have plenty of lift to hold itself up. These are racing airplanes. The little square box-bodied airplanes are called Quickee 500s, and the smoother, sleeker ones, like this one here, are called Formula One airplanes. They race in two different categories, and the 15-500s are intended generally as a club event, kind of a low-cost entry into racing. The planes go pretty fast. They go between 120, 150 miles an hour. And there are some requirements on the type of airplane and some limitations on the motor, just again to keep the expenses a little bit lower. The Formula One racers, on the other hand, don't have a limitation on the type of motor they have. They have a limitation on the size of motor. 0.4 cubic inches is the size. They run nitromethane fuel, as much as 60% nitromethane, and then some oil and some alcohol. And these little motors will develop 2 horsepower and above. The airplanes themselves have some limitations. First of all, they're scaled after full-size airplanes that have once competed in Formula One racing. Because of that, you'll see the same airplane appear with different paint jobs built by a number of different competitors, and a different airplane appear with a number of different paint jobs built by another group of competitors. The number of airplanes that are available to fly Formula One are relatively small. Second of all, there's a weight requirement. Each of these airplanes must weigh at least 5 pounds. And that rule was put into effect just to make sure that they were strong enough to withstand the pounding of racing. We'll go out and see a couple of these races here in just a minute, and you'll see that the stress that comes onto these airplanes is pretty demanding. There are some minimum dimension requirements, and there's also a workmanship consideration. Each of these airplanes is judged for workmanship before the beginning of the meet. The score then goes into their starting position for each of the heats that airplane is involved with. So the prettiest airplane in any given heat gets to take off first. It becomes a real benefit when getting from the takeoff position into the air and going is the slowest part of getting the airplane around the pylons.
So you'll find that very typically these airplanes are beautiful. They're very fast. They run around 200 miles an hour. And despite the fact that they're that fast, they are very responsive to controls. You can see from this angle, there's not a lot slowing this airplane down. Here's a group of airplanes that are waiting in an area so that they can be picked up by the truck and hauled out to the flight line, get ready for a race. The pilot of each one of the aircraft is allowed one caller to notify him of his exact position on the course. The caller also serves to hold the airplane just before takeoff. These little flight boxes, or the boxes sitting next to each one of the airplanes, carry the necessary gear to get the airplane started, as well as the transmitter, possibly a tachometer for the propeller, and some simple maintenance things like glow plugs, the equivalent of a spark plug. Well, we're about ready to go out and see a Quickee 500 race in progress, so let's go. This is a setup for a formula race. As you can see, we're quite a ways away from the course itself, about 2 blocks, and that's for safety. If one of the parts of the airplanes comes off, it's going about 200 miles an hour, and a little bit of distance can really help keep the people safe. You'll notice some cages in various areas around the course. It's a triangular course, narrow on one side and long on 2 sides. And at each one of the flags, or pylons, they have a person watching that none of the airplanes cut inside of that pylon. That's called a cut. And from personal experience, I know it's kind of hard to tell where those flags are. At the pinpoint corner of the triangle, there are an additional 4 people telling the pilots when they have passed the pylon so that they can turn. Right now, they're identifying their airplanes to the people down at the scatter pylon it's called, so that each person inside of the cage has one airplane that they're concerned with. In a few minutes we'll actually get a look at what it feels like to be inside that cage. And these little racers are a handful to watch when they're up close. There's a flagger. You'll see him there with the checkered flag. And his responsibility is to make sure that each one of the pilots and their callers are ready. Talk with them, and then let them start their motors. Flag the race off. Again, the plane with the best workmanship gets flagged off first. There's one more cage, and it's a timer's cage. Each one of these races are timed, each one of the airplanes are timed individually. And in the case that two airplanes can't race against each other because of frequency conflict, the time can determine the winner. So that's kind of an important position as well. There are 16 people on the course. Now let's watch a race. All of these airplanes, when they're done with the race, they're asked immediately to take the airplane up a little bit of altitude, shut off the motor, and try to bring it in back to the pilot just as quickly as possible so that we can get the truck out there, haul everybody back, haul everybody out for the next heat. Just a side note here, all of these airplanes have 500 square inch wings and 0.40 cubic inch motors. Here we go. We'll go take a look at another Formula One race.
Come on, pilots. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Come on. There he is. Get up there.
My wife Neva was able to get out into one of these cages, and so thanks to her, now we can give you some footage of what it's like to work in one of these races.
When I go by, I'll get a good look at him and see if he can pick something out. Yeah.
Say again, please.
This is going to be
Okay, give him a shot.
Glad with my eyes, I'm not doing that.
I'm sorry,
Shudder
JR.
for who?
Try it again. It sounds like blow through to me.
We don't even need to talk to him. Just tell him to hold up the
Give
planes
him-
one at a
give him
time
shutter
after
on
they
three
show us.
if you see a plane.
Hold the plane up then.
Give him a shutter on 3.
Oh, where's Lovely. They're holding the plane up this high.
Lane 4, all yellow. Okay.
Oh, Lord.
We need to go talk to him and have him hold them all up and then do them one at a
Yellow
time.
and black is what he's going to call lane 3. Okay, we got you.
Lord love a duck. Ooh.
Yeah, I got good eyes.
Maybe we'll lose one quick.
Yeah. Look, I think that yellow one that's still flying is yours.
It seems to be standard. Every time you send up 3 or more, you lose one real quick.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I've seen a race into 4 planes still.
Not yet today, anyway.
Throw this back there on the box.
Holy smokes.
Yep, we're on time.
Oh, they're all loaded up over there. At least they got that working good.
Yeah, we're going to have to run up and talk to him and have him show us all 4 of them and then show just one at a time.
Yeah, they didn't do a very good job of holding them up all four.
Well, they hold them right here and we're going. Oh, we want all of them, and then we want them all down, and just one at a time, and we'll flash at them. It's important to them to know what shutter we are. You get confused.
I lose them in one little spot. They come way behind us.
You get confused. Try to ask me. I might not be. I don't know. I'm not going to point it out to you, but the chances are I won't be able to. Maybe they'll stay right next to the whole race with no sticking at the same time. Right? Watch it right off the start.
Okay, we have one cut on line 4.
Cut on 4. Is that was that a definite cut or a slice?
Big time. Never even got to hit the front.
Did you flag him?
Yep. Or no.
Okay.
How we do?
Good. That was on my airplane.
Skip, I think it's for those airplanes.
See, one of mine, oh, you didn't see it, but hell, he took off and shooting way up there, and then he came back down. And,
Oh!
Look at it.
Getting better, isn't it, Lee?
End cartwheel. That was your plane.
I thought they
Yeah,
did
it
all
always
right.
starts a little slow. That was mine.
Yellow and blue.
I couldn't tell.
Once they get spread apart, it's a lot easier. You just even don't really have to worry about the colors that much.
Well, there were a couple cars. We were right on it.
Oh, I know. It was a good race. I was going. I think I was front.
These are pattern airplanes. The competition that these planes would be involved with is concerned with doing precision aerobatics. There are very few requirements on the airplane. There are very few requirements on the motor or the pilot. So the competition really involves the amount of practice or skill the pilot has with flying his own aircraft. They're typically quite large. Wingspan just over 5 feet. Motors range from 0.6 cubic inches to 1.2 cubic inches typically. And the airplanes weigh between 6 and 8 pounds. The advantages are gained here by having an airplane that flies like it's on rails, you might say. It's very common to have the wing, the horizontal stabilizer, and the motor all be in the same line so that the airplane rolls without wobbling. To have a great deal of side area on the fuselage. So if you put the airplane up on its edge, knife edge flight it's called, with a little application of rudder, the airplane will actually fly while the wing is perpendicular to the horizon. And of course power is pretty important so that they can get vertical maneuvers. A stall turn would be a good example of something like this. These planes, as they enter competition, are not to be judged on their workmanship or their appearance, but having flown pattern in the past, I've found that the judges are influenced by the way they look. And so you'll find these airplanes are very well finished, very sleek, and look very much like model airplanes. And as we're going to take a look here in just a moment, they fly prescribed maneuvers, almost as though you held a page out in front of you and drew a drawing. Let's take a look and see some of them flying now.
Accelerate smoothly to flying speed. Rotate in front of the transmitter, that's very close. Climb out at less than 20 degrees to an altitude of 2 meters. Then the maneuver is considered complete. The judges stop judging and write down their score.
Now, is that judged on smoothness?
Well, smoothness is a criteria, but precision is the main criteria. It's my belief that precision will, if you have precision, you'll get smoothness. You know?
Okay. Well, I used to have written into the rule book that it was supposed to take off like a full-size airplane.
That's kind of changed. Pattern planes are not like full-size airplanes.
That's
in the box.
That's true.
I mean, he's approaching his first scored maneuver. Double stall turn. He's got to fly in the same plane and the same line. Got a good vertical after the first quarter loop. Sort of wobble a little bit in the stall turn, but it's pretty good. And then he flies a half loop to the other vertical. Flying out a little bit. Wing wobbles a little bit. Good vertical. Excellent stall turn. Down, now he approaches his down line. He's supposed to fly a quarter loop and be in a straight and level flight in front of the transmitter. This is a half reverse Cuban 8. 45 degree climb, 180 degree half roll, 5/8 loop, back to level flight. That's a pretty good maneuver. This is Cuban 8. 3/4 loop, 45 degree dive, half roll to level flight. 3/4 loop to a 45 degree dive, half roll to a level flight. Roller is supposed to be in the same position. Exits in horizontal level flight and exits it off. Unscored turnaround. Back to level flight. Enters the aerobatic zone in the box, we say. Approaches an Immelman turn. It's a half loop, 180 degree roll at the 180 degree point in the loop to level flight. Exits on the high line. Now he's coming to a split S, a half roll, followed by a half loop to his low line. Back to center stage for 3 inside loops. This maneuver's judged that the airplane's supposed to be in the same plane. We can see that he was flying in fairly dramatically. He's got it back out where it's supposed to be. Three loops you tend to think it's an easy maneuver, but it's very difficult to put 3 loops in the same spot and to make them round. Exits in level flight and exits the aerobatic zone. First maneuver in the box will be straight inverted flight. That's inverted flight for 3 to 4 seconds. Changes in downrange, it changes in heading, changes in wing attitude. Pulls to a single stall turn. Very good stall turn. to level flight, rolls inverted to push into the one reverse outside loop. Got a pretty good one going here, a little flat spot on top. Pushes it over, exits in inverted flat, rolls upright flat, and exits the box. Out of the box, doing an unscored turnaround. Comes back to level flight, in the box for 3 horizontal rolls. Pretty good rolls, a little off center, lost a little heading. He's exiting the box. And that's the final maneuver of the schedule, except for landing, which is also a judged maneuver.
Now, what point is the landing a judge maneuver? Do they do the approach, or is it just the touchdown?
It's much like the takeoff. The landing maneuver, well, no, he's still flying. He's not going to do his landing right now. He's going to try the outside loop again. We'll talk about the landing when the time gets here.
Okay.
That's a better outside loop. He probably needs to extend his inverted flight out from it a little bit. Rolls again. Still a little short of center and still going out a little bit. I don't know if the camera will pick that up. But it's troubling him, and that's why he continues to practice the maneuver.
Well, I've got no ground reference, but
No, you don't.
you may be able to tell the difference in distance just from the airplane getting
You
smaller.
can see it going away like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing them the opposite direction and doing them much better. Too bad they won't let you do that downwind. Too bad they won't let you fly that downwind. Here we go. Still short of center. Not losing the heading. Much better maneuver. A little bit short of center, Ron, but a good maneuver. A little short of center, but a good maneuver. Not much. That was an 8 or a 9. Bingo! Excellent. Dead center right on line. Really pretty maneuver. Okay, now he's going to land. We'll talk about landing. What typically happens with the judges there is about right now, he's doing his downwind turn. He's telling the judges that the landing maneuver will begin at 2 meters. In other words, the judges are to start judging when they judge that the aircraft is 2 meters in altitude. And until then, they're not worried about it. The criteria is that the heading doesn't change, the wing angle doesn't change. All these maneuvers have to be wind corrected. In other words, if the wind is blowing, it should appear to the judge that it isn't. That's 2 meters approximately. It's not well centered, otherwise a good landing. I'd give that a 7 perhaps. It was a good landing, it just wasn't well centered.
Yeah.
Those last rolls you did were gorgeous. The last one this way, you just waited a little bit and they were dead center and they were right on a pipe. They were excellent. They were excellent.
Is flying an Iridium, designed by Henry Jordan, I believe, out of Surrey, BC, powered by OS 61 Hono rear pump engine. First maneuver would be a takeoff.
Now, how old is this airplane for him? How long has he had this one?
This one here is approximately, I'd say about 5 months old. Jack has had a few problems this year, but he's got a couple airplanes now that are his recent ones that he put together. He went through 4 airplanes this year. Some of them because of Jack, and some of them not necessarily because he had a few electrical problems and a radio problem on one of them. And there's a real serious problem that we finally figured out. Minimum turn, he's flying probably a little close in, really. But what he's doing now is he's practicing on a double limit. See him moving back out again. This is a new pattern for Jack. In fact, this is probably only about the 4th time he's been practicing it. He's in the box on a turnaround. This maneuver is a slow roll.
A little quick on the exit.
Quick on the exit. It started out real nice. That's a stall turn right there, and coming back down. This would be considered a top hat with
half rolls.
Half rolls. The idea is to try and get those half rolls centered at the exact same spot. That's his exit. A little Humpty Bump right here with options. Four-point roll.
That looked pretty nice. Exit was a little screwy, but it looked pretty nice.
Stall turn with options. This is called a cobra roll. And all the time that you're trying to remember these maneuvers, you must remember that you're staying in a 60-degree angled box, no more than 300 meters out from you, and no higher than 6 degrees on elevated altitudes.
The outsides look real nice.
This maneuver is 3 outside loops, and it does have a tendency to make one a little bit nervous. Jack is practicing a little higher than normally we would fly this, but like everything, this is practice, and it doesn't kind of tear up an aircraft, it's practice. This is a square root, which is the last maneuver before the landing. And Jack may go out and practice some of these maneuvers over to get a little more familiar with them. Which is nice when you have an aircraft that you can do two. He's going to make a landing at this point. He came by and checked his retracts.
This would be a good time to make a landing.
Well, it's an Idaho, it's still.
It is? Okay.
I think we finally got it in. The reason a lot of times that we land with an engine not running is that it makes it slow down a lot easier.
Okay, just a little bit of prop makes a difference.
Everything was recognizable, right?
Yeah, I noticed. Not bad, Jack.
The point roll wasn't bad.
No.
The slow roll was horrifying. I bailed out, you know. I got, well, I don't know why, but you know, your thumb wants you to go, ah!
Uh-huh.
You know, I got about halfway through it and then just, you know, it was just a regular rollout. I had the right rudder going, too. I don't know why I bailed out. But I scored on everything.
Programmed.
I didn't zero anything.
No. But it's very recognizable. Still have a tendency to flying too close.
Yeah,
and this is
I
because
wasn't
it's
really paying much attention to my
Right.
line there.
Well, no, I mean, I understand that, because if you want to
You're
be able
right.
to see the airplane, what's happening, so
Yeah.
that you can
The
react.
other thing I did on the top hat, you see what I did there? I pulled vertical and said, boy, that's pretty. Oh, half roll. You know,
You gotta cut all that out.
you haven't, can you edit this?
I hope you got it, that.
You know, and I said, oh my, I've got a half roll. And I, you know, so I did a half roll and pull, and I had no speed, so I went, "Ah!"
Yeah, it sagged.
Yeah, and I was headed way out, and I ruddered it back on line.
That wasn't a top hat, that was a derby hat.
Derby hat had a little dip in the middle.
Yeah, well, what happened was I came over the top with no speed like this. The half rolls on the vertical lines are tough, because you got to establish the vertical quickly and accurately. You don't get time like we do in sportsman.
Well, now I
to
see.
play
You're
with it.
also used to turning off the power as you're going up so
Yeah,
you can stall.
and
And you
you
don't
know,
want to do that
on
too
my
quick.
stall turn with half rolls, I pulled up and flew up here and turned off the power. Then I remembered I had to do a half roll.
And have vertical above the half roll.
Yeah. Those half rolls
But
have to be
real short.
centered in the vertical portion of the line. I've got a ways to go here, obviously.
Yeah, that wasn't bad though. You're going to be competitive.
Yeah, if I can get the practice that I need, if I can get the work.
Yeah, that didn't look bad.
That's
I'm
the key to
concerned.
it. That's the
the
key
first
to
time I've
pattern
seen him
flying.
fly
anyway.
that.
Yeah, that's only about the third or fourth time I've done it.
These are scale airplanes. They're replicas of full-size airplane from any time period. And the fact of the matter is that model airplanes are not designed the way that full-size airplanes are. The weight distribution is different, the surface distribution is different. My hat is off to these guys just for having put the number of hours that they've put in with these airplanes. And the fact that they can make them fly so well. These airplanes are typically heavy for their size. And in just a minute we'll take a look at what they look like on the ground, but they are beautiful. So with the scale flying and judging as the criteria, I'd like to just kind of sign off here. I'll let you take a look at some of the background. These are mountains over in Idaho, right in Farragut State Park. Take a look at some of these airplanes. Sometimes mishaps, but these guys are out just having fun on a Sunday.
Uh-oh, this looks bad. We're going under the cow.
Oh, yeah. You got way out over there. Were you?
Yeah, I lost it over there once.
Is that a sheeted piece of next time we get to do it?
It's got a decent instrument panel, but there's no floor or anything. The rest of the seat.
Hold it up, look at it from a distance, and you can see the air ice above the ice.
Yeah, that guy almost stood if you had somebody wing like that. Because, you know, we flew one, J3, yellow one, J3, out of Walk in the Wild.
or a wedding. Who was the other guy? Okay. So, yeah, I don't remember a lot of things. Am I going to get in trouble for staying here and filming this?
No, not at all. In fact, right after he takes off, the other one probably wander down so we can see what he's seeing, or pretty much put it in. We want to make sure we stay behind him.
Wow.
Aileron all. Use that altitude to trade off for speed coming back around.
Stuff it? Oh.
Might want to take a check in the cockpit too.
Trying to get that motor. Cockpit.
Aileron linkage from the lower wing. But Monty, what's all of this stuff? Why would everything change? I just thought of
didn't tell me that was an answer.
Tail light was working until it banged into the back of my trailer. Yeah, those are counterbalance weight. I'm going to do like I did before. Yeah, I tried.
Please move.
There is benefit to that.
Thank you.
In the ready box on flight line 2, Paul Harding in the Mooney Light. Next up was Priest with the Smith mini plane. Flight line 1, Gray with a PA-18 in the ready box. McCall with the P-51 up next.
You ever fly with a 4-blade prop?